Hello, I'm David Rothenberg, hosting this podcast, the Reentry Reality Check of the Fortune Society, a nonprofit organization which advocates for the formerly incarcerated and for men and women still in prison. We also provide multiple services for the thousands who walk through our doors each year. Thank you for joining us.
Hold my head high as I travel along this road. Help me always to speak kind words.
When you discuss reentry at places like the Fortune Society, the obvious and most apparent things people talk about: finding jobs, housing, mental health support, drug rehab, arts programs, all of which is a vital part of the Fortune Society and programs for reentry around the country. But there's something at Fortune that fascinates me. It's a room which on paper would have no purpose. It's called the Nest. And I've gone in there several times, and people are sitting around talking. And I've talked with some of the people that are there, and the comment that made me start digging into it is I asked one young man, and he said he took advantage of all the different programs at Fortune. And I said, "Why do you come to the Nest?" And he said, "I feel safe." And I started exploring that with other people, and that the number of people who are in reentry, who come to programs like the Fortune Society, lack trust because they've been in institutions where they've been overlooked or abandoned or abused. And so I wanted to talk about what happens at the Nest. Tony Lesane is the philosopher-in-chief, and Jose de la Cruz is a young man, not that young, but a man I met who was sitting in on one of the sessions. And I thought, so Tony, you came to Fortune out of prison.
Yes, sir.
And you got involved in programs and put your life together.
Yes.
But well, maybe you can talk about yourself in terms of the Nest. But what happens at the Nest, and what do you do there, and what is its value as you see it?
Okay. Again, good morning. My name is Tony Lesane. I'm a recovery coach, prayer specialist, and I work in the Nest, which is the Network Engagement Support Team. That's what the Nest stands for. The acronym. The acronym is the Network Engagement Support Team.
Those are the fancy words. What's the soul and heart of it?
The soul and heart of it is the participants, the people who come there, who looking for help, who looking for that space, that safe space where they can let go some of them burdens, some of them secrets that they've been holding on to and don't get the answer, and seeking out the answer, and they look for the answer where there's enough of us in there who we can identify with each other, from prison, from the homelessness, from whatever relationship with husband and wife, relationship with family. So we strive to address everything that we can and help everyone. So when they do leave the Nest, they feel safe enough to come back. And when they come back, I also would love for them. I always look for them to give, and I always try to give them the best resources that I can possibly can. I got resources when I came here from prison, from job to housing to benefits. Sure, we have a benefit officer that helps people with their benefits when they first come home, or even people who are home and struggling to get their life together. So
you said it was very interesting as you were describing, because people are going for jobs and they go for their GED and college prep here.
Yes.
But there are things, you implied that there are things on their mind that don't come up.
That don't come up.
When you're looking for a job, like your relationship, with your family.
With your family, yes.
Your fear of the fast-moving society.
The fear of the fast-moving.
There are so many things that in reentry, I said it at the opening that there are very specific things at Fortune that people can identify with: finding a job, going to school, getting housing. The things that happen in the Nest are you need to deal with to make those other things successful.
Sure.
That if you have a lot of fears or doubts about yourself when you're going for a job interview and you're worrying about your relationship with your family, it hampers it.
Well, I believe that in the nest, like David said, it's a space where most people that comes in there, once they sit into our groups, that they see the safeness of that space and they see the help that they can get when they get in there. But just by listening, they can identify. A lot of us identify with all the strives and struggles that we go through in life. So when we get in the nest, once they see how people respond to giving them the help and making them feel comfortable, we always welcome people when they come because we know the day is a struggle. The day with the mental health, it's a struggle. The day with housing, it's a struggle with people getting a job. The employment workshop, we have a wonderful employment workshop, and everyone, including myself, went right from the employment workshop after coming home from doing a couple of decades, and went right into work, right into the job field. So I'm always encouraging someone that you can do it. I always encourage, even Mr. Deli Cruz, the brother that I'm here with, he can attest to that. I stayed on him from day one when he first came in and the group and shared what he was going through. And I always encourage him that, listen, you can do what you set your mind to.
You gave him a good intro, but you said, Tony, that a lot of the people who come into the nest and benefit from the people there come back and then they're the wisdom givers.
They're the wisdom givers. That's right. They share their experience of what they got when they came, and that's the help that they got from I'm gonna say from that family. We call ourselves a family. That's from that family. Yeah, they get real comfortable with helping people when they come in that nest because we definitely is a family.
You know, it's interesting. When people come to the Fortune Society, I'm sit down to the desk. They say, "Why are you here?" They say, "I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for housing." Nobody has ever come in here and say, "Oh, I came here because I want to go to the nest." That's something they find. So, Mr. De La Cruz, Jose, if I may.
Yes, how you doing?
I first met you. You were sitting in with the group that I sat in on. I love sitting in on the nest groups. When you came to Fortune, why did you come, and then how did you end up at the nest?
Well, when I came from the street to Fortune, I did have a crime. I wanted to get back into the work field, and it was a little difficult with felonies. And here we're taught.
You were looking for a job?
Yeah, we're taught how to handle things about felonies, how to handle getting back to work, how to getting back into society.
You did the job.
I did an internship here.
The job readiness program, the 3 weeks.
Oh, definitely did a job readiness
but you
program.
you didn't come in. You didn't know about the nest.
No. I first went to the nest.
Did you just drift by the room and say what's going on here, or did you? What happened?
It was recommended by one of the shelters I was staying at, and they told me if I wanted to go to Fortune Societies, there's a few different organizations, but the name Fortune Society caught my attention. Because I do want to get into my fortune in life, and the nest did.
But the nest is just a room.
No.
When you came here, you're looking for a job. What made you go into that room? Because when I go by, there's 15, 18 people there, tops, and there's hundreds walking around all over the place. So why did you go to the nest?
Well, there's different sessions in the nest where we talk about drug addiction.
Yeah, but why did you go in to start with?
To get back into social, to be social again.
Who told
to get
you?
comfortable
But I
with
mean,
myself.
did you walk by and say what's going on here?
No, actually, the lady who did my intake,
She said, "I think you should."
She
go to
offered
the...
me to go to the nest so I can ready myself to get back into society.
So what Tony talked about, what worked for you?
The whole group worked for me. When you come from outside, you're in survival mode. You're not really thinking about yourself. We learn to be individuals here, and we learn to worry about ourselves and worry about things accordingly.
You were living in a shelter and you were unemployed.
Yeah.
What's your situation now?
Now I have a voucher. I'm looking for an apartment. I did the internship here. I'm doing my GED here. The nest has taught me a lot. I did an internship as well. Looking forward to work here one day, but if not,
What are the topics at the nest? Do you, when you go in there, does Tony say, today we are talking about it, or do people just talk about what's on their mind?
Well, every different hour of the day, there's a different group. Relapse prevention. We have
Relapse prevention is for people who have been addicted.
Right.
And what do you do? How do you have a state of mind?
Yeah, relapse prevention. Everybody has different opinions. Sometimes there's arguments, but it's always peaceful.
Disagreements.
Yeah, we all respect each other's opinion, and usually the person running the group, they handle everything accurately.
What worked for you in the group? Can you think of any one discussion where suddenly a light bulb went off?
You want to stay in the nest. It's like being with mama. You want to stay in the nest, although the Fortune Society is like a mall of support. There's all kind of rooms. People usually read the sign on the doors. They go inside curious about what's going on. We have breaks, and you get to, see what kind of help you need. We have HRA, GED programs, construction programs, and if not here, they lead you somewhere else. And it's very supportive, a very supportive place.
Tony brought up relationships with the family. That's not something that you get at job training or GED. Has that discussion been fruitful for you?
Definitely. Relationship with the families. A lot of people come from broken families, and we learn to, to survive, to deal with things a new way.
And addiction, you burn a lot of bridges, don't you?
You burn a lot of bridges, but you learn to get back on your feet.
To build up the bridges.
Yeah.
Tony, when you come in, do you have set in your head, today we're going to talk about this? Do you hear something on the news and say, oh, that's something we can talk about? Or
Yeah, well, we have a structure in there. We have a structure, like we have, like I said, a structure where we have different groups that address different avenues. But for example, this morning our group started at 10 o'clock, and the topic of the group was Pathway to Peace. So we...
World peace or a peace in your head?
Just pathway to peace in your soul, peace in your life.
In your life.
So we deal with issues like that. We want to hear, what are you doing to have peace in your life?
And I would imagine somebody brings up something in the middle of the discussion that reroutes.
We always have someone that's I would say the devil advocate. They want to talk about something besides what we have on the agenda. But being that we are open-minded in there, and we are always prepared to hear the participants out, we may even sidetrack for a little bit just to see what he got going on. We want to know what you dealing with. What kind of advice can we give you? What can we tell you to do? What kind of resources you need so you can get that pathway? You can get that peace that you need.
I don't know if you'll remember. Yeah, I'm sure you will remember this. There's something that came up at the nest, and I said, this doesn't happen in programs anywhere. And that was, you were in a discussion. I said, what is this all about, Tony? And you said, we have a new participant. He's coming in, and he has no hygiene. Nobody wants to sit next to him because he's unwashed. And I said, well, my reaction was, many of the people that come to Fortune have been raised in the state, and they never had a mommy or a grandmother saying, you should take a bath every day, you should take a shower.
Yes.
They survived in shelters, and you had that incredible task of, I remember you saying to me, we don't want to scare him off by challenging his hygiene. So you weren't going to do it in the group. You wanted to get him privately.
Yes.
How do you go? You see, that's something in the net like that at the nest wouldn't happen anywhere else. If you were in a class and somebody stank, people would say, I don't want to sit next to him, and then they,
Sure, and we deal with that. We deal with that on a daily basis because we understand the condition of the people. Right? People come here that's in shelters, are homeless, they're sleeping on the train, and we understand that. So to address that most of the time, to make a person feel comfortable, I like to always pull a person away from the group setting and then aid him in whatever he needs. Like we have hygiene kits on the site here. We have hygiene kits for them. They can get toothpaste, they can get deodorant, they can get soap, they can get shampoo.
So that wasn't just that one time. You face that frequently.
We face this here practically every day.
Do people respond?
Of course they respond.
Have they ever been confronted about their hygiene before?
Sure.
I mean, before here, do people, what do they say? You stink, and then move on?
Well, I don't. We wouldn't deal with it in that.
No, I know
in that frame. So, but I know a lot of them are grateful. A lot of them are grateful when they do come, and I pull them to the side. One of the other pairs, even Brother Dela Cruz, that he worked with us as an intern, and he understands the condition of the people. So when someone's like that, it may be a time if I'm doing something that I may call him and say, "Yo, Jose, listen, this dude needs some help right here. Listen, go in the office and speak to them. Let them know that you need a hygiene kit, and be easy with them,
Yeah, Jose,
make them feel comfortable."
Jose, when I first met you, you were living in a shelter.
Yes.
So you're aware of all of the problems of people who come to Fortune, or just generally that living in a shelter. Hygiene. How did you deal with that? Are there showers in the shelter? People don't know about shelter life.
There's showers in the shelter. People are very scared even to be in the shelter. There's a lot of things going on in the shelter that people don't want to deal with.
It's not safe.
Stealing and
drugs.
A lot of drug use, a lot of criminals together in one place.
Is it possible to be living in the shelter and then come to a place like the Nest and then go back to the shelter and then come back? That must be quite a contrast for you.
I learned when your mind is set on getting right that you're going to get it right. So
your goal was to get out of the shelter.
Yeah, my goal was to get my life together, get it right. No crime, no drugs.
Tony and other people, do you confide in them? Do you feel comfortable sharing?
Yes.
Did it take time before you reached that?
No, he has such a big heart, Tony, and a lot of the people at the Nest have a huge understanding. Professional people that have been just as impacted.
Do you see people coming in that are very resistant, that they don't share and they don't talk?
Yeah, but it reminded me of how I was in the beginning when I first came in as well.
How do you break people down who, I'm sure you know when somebody comes sits there and doesn't say a word and you don't...
Like, I like to do this here when a person comes that's new and I know they feel it out or they feel uncomfortable. This is their first time in the space. Like, we don't like to I don't put pressure on them. Like, we going around in the room and we going on the topic, and when we get to the person, I'll always make them feel comfortable. Like, listen, if you don't feel like sharing right now, we'll come back to you. Whenever you feel comfortable enough to share, yeah, we're here. We're here with open ears.
The dynamic of that, I've seen it at the Nest, is that there'll be 10 or 12 people that have been coming there, and they greet each other, and they hug, and they're chatting comfortably, and then you know who the new person is because they're sitting there. Not only are they silent, but I'm sure they feel like, I don't belong here, because everybody seems to like each other and know each other, but you have an antenna out.
Yes, comfortability. Like, I love comfortability, so when I see a person like that, I try to the icebreaker for me is to introduce myself to them, and explain to them what we do here in the Nest, and let them know, like, you hear what everyone that's going through some of the same trials and tribulations that you're going through in life right now. So don't be ashamed, or don't be afraid. Just speak out, get it out, let it go.
One of the wise things I heard, I don't know if it was you or somebody when I was sitting in the Nest, was everybody has to move at their own pace.
At their own pace.
Because some people that come new, it's going to be weeks before they open their mouth, and others start yakking right away, and you can't shut them up.
Yes. Another thing.
Were you fast or slow, Jose?
I wanted to help as soon as possible.
No, but did you talk at all right away?
No, in the beginning, no, I didn't have to warm up.
Did you wonder about all these people hugging each other? Did you buy it?
Yeah, I checked out a few religions before I came here, and this was really comfortable. Another thing that the Nest is we touch on real life topics, right? Yes. That it feels like no matter how many people are in the room, when we get to a topic that relates to you, you want to give something. You say, I got something to give, and they give their opinion.
Now,
so even the quiet person will speak.
Well, listen. Now, when people are coming in there, do you refer from something they say? Do you say, "Oh, we have a job program here that you should go to that," or go to the GED, go to the education program, or mental health? We have the Better Living Center. Do you refer people to? Can you detect what their needs are, and they're more likely to accept a direction from you because
most of the time, once a person open up and start speaking, it gives us an idea of what kind of assistance or what kind of help that they need, and when that happens, we take on that job. Like you take on that job, okay, let's gotta find a resource. If they have to go to see mental health, if they have to go get benefit, or they want to further their education, or they want a job, we always give them the opportunity to let us know where they're at in life.
Now, Mr. Jose, who was talking about living in a shelter, are a lot of the participants living in shelters?
Yeah, most of them. This is something that's great about this, that you bring this up, David. A lot of the people that come to our groups is in the shelters, and we cherish when they get an apartment. They be so happy that they come and they share that they just got their apartment, and we can we congratulate them. We let them know that, listen, we've been, for sure, I'll let them know, I've been praying for this day to come, and I'm so glad, because you can be in so much ease when you have your own space. It helps you.
I don't know how people can go home at night after this city where they're so complex and be in a shelter. I mean, you need that. You need your own little castle.
Personal space,
you need your place.
You need that personal space.
Because it makes everything else so tough.
So much. It makes everything else so much easier. Once you have your personal spaces, it gives you like a breath of fresh air. You can start making other moves in your life.
One of the startling things I learned is that there are support for people to find housing who are homeless. That HUD, the Federal Housing Urban Development, says that when you come out of prison, you're not homeless because you've been someplace with a roof over your head. And at least 50% of the people coming out of prison in New York are homeless. And many of them find their way here, and there's kind of a desperation.
Yes, it is. It is a desperation, because I'm a prime suspect of that, coming home homeless and not having nowhere to go.
Did you go to a shelter?
No. Fortunately, I was blessed, and Allah covered me. I was able to, one of my female cousins, when I made the board, and I told her, I was in Queensboro, and I told her, they said, unless I had a residence, that I would have to go to a shelter. On the date, when my date came for me to leave out.
And you stayed with her?
And she agreed for me to sleep on her couch. I slept on her couch I slept on her couch for 2 years. If I slept in a jail cell on a hard metal piece of whatever you call it, for 2.5 decades plus.
So the sofa was easy.
Yeah,
what do you got?
That sofa was lovely. I got my own king size bed, my own bathroom, where I have my own kitchen. So
You cook?
Sure, I cook. I love cooking.
So, Mr. De La Cruz, Jose, when I met you, you were in the shelter. Did you have to gear yourself each day to just get up and get out and to try and find something better?
Well, in the shelters, it is a process. You got to see psychologists. You got to see the meds. You got to see HRA. You
at the shelter they have all this?
Yeah, at the shelter you got to go through a certain order to get out of that shelter. You get to go to about 2 shelters before you go to a shelter where you stay before you get your voucher for your apartment. It's difficult, and if you're not ready, you could easily drift into a bad lifestyle. You gotta, everything's on time. You get 3 meals a day. You got somewhere to sleep, somewhere to take a shower. They offer you socks and T-shirts and things like that. But if you're not decided to stop drinking or drugging or even committing crime, you'll just use that as a sleep spot.
So the nest was the missing piece for you?
The nest completed my life, yes. Fortune Society completed me. I was really already decided that I wanted my life to go in the right path.
I think most people that come here want something else, but I always remember a man who, when he had come to Fortune, I said, well, what is your past? He said, well, I had a drinking problem, and I wanted to stay sober, but I tripped over a match once, and I bled for 3 years. And that tells the story. You can find excuses for why you go in, why you pick up. But if the system, I could imagine that people reach a state of mind saying, well, they don't care, so I might as well get high because nobody's going to do anything or doesn't care what happens to me. So that's a challenge for you over and over again.
I think the best thing about Fortune is that we have justice impacted people working here, and they are aware.
Staff people,
right?
Yes.
And they're aware of, the characteristics that a person has when they do want to succeed in life. And I'm part of the leadership team in the Nest, and in the Nest,
Tell me about that. The Nest has a leadership team.
Yes.
That's of the participants,
right?
And you meet with the new people.
We have meetings one time a week. We go to different places in the city. We go places to eat, and we talk about the groups and who looks like they want to move forward, who needs resources, who needs a therapist.
I didn't know that. You go share at a restaurant and go out together.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It's amazing.
Do you go other places?
Sometimes we go to places to have a little fun and stuff like that.
Well, I'm going to tell you about theater tickets. That maybe we can get theater tickets for you all.
Yes, you said that. I just went to Lincoln Center with Jamie, who runs the art department. Me and
what did you see?
I think about 6 other employees and
what show did you see? We
seen a dance. It was a dance theater in Lincoln Center, where the show was pretty good,
Well, you see, I learned a lot there. I didn't know about the leadership group. That's very exciting.
Yeah, they have a leadership group.
And that relieves some of your burden because the participants assume some responsibility that you've given them.
They took initiative. Wonderful. They took initiative.
I may cry.
Do something.
That's beautiful.
That was amazing for me for becoming part of the leadership. Somebody saw something in me, and they said that I definitely have what it takes.
I'm not surprised that they saw it in you, Mr.
Well,
Cruz.
when I came here, they had a leadership group up here. I think I don't know if it was
the ATI
had a leadership group. And guys used to come to the building. They would go out and work in the communities, and then they would come to the building twice.
How many in your leadership group?
About 7.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to do something about that.
Yes, about 7.
All right. Well, this is wonderful. I learned a lot, and I hope people tuning into the podcast about the Nest, Tony Lesane and Jose de la Cruz, thank you so much. This was rich and rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for this opportunity. That's right.
Give me one more chance to try and make it right. Give me one more go. Let me see the light.
Thanks very much for joining this podcast. I'm your host, David Rothenberg. If you need more information or if you'd like more information about the Fortune Society, check out our website. It's quite simply fortunesociety.org. A lot of information on it, as well as all of our podcasts.
Give me one more poem. Let me speak straight from my heart. I wanna go home.